Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Yes, I watched the new She-Ra and the Princesses of Power start to finish, and I am going to give you my thoughts. And if you like thoughts like this, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K. I didn't forget, go me. Okay, what did I think? Well, it's a best of times, worst of times affair. It is not as terrible as the I won't even say critics, because this happened before the show even debuted, but the people freaking out. It's not as bad as people feared. It's not as good as some people are claiming it to be. Now, I want to be clear. I came into this with an open mind. I waited for the stank of the online fights to dissipate. I aired out the room. A few people I like very much really liked the show, so I was pumped. I was into it. I was prepared to like it. I wanted to like it. And there are some things I like very much. There are other things I didn't like at all. And I've been trying to figure out whether it's just I'm not a kid or if there's actually an issue here. And the very last episode made up my mind. But let's start at the beginning. What's good? There are 2 episodes, and I'm going to switch over to internet screen. There are 2 episodes that are absolutely freaking fabulous. One is, you'll see down here, the Seagate. That is fantastic. It is just knockdown, drag out funny from start to finish. Seahawk and Bo just steal the freaking show. Bo's a scene stealer in everything he's in. Kudos to Marcus Scribner of Blackish fame. He is phenomenal. Bo was never a good character, and he's kind of overdone in sort of a Teen Titans Go kind of way, but he is extremely likable. And the thing about Marcus Scribner is the kid has no ego. I am always amazed that a guy that age can be so lacking in self-consciousness and just let it rip for comedy. Kid has skills. He's so good. The other knockdown, drag out, awesome episode was Princess Prom. And you'll see Catra here in a suit. This is one of those things that made me feel kind of funny because it is a kid's show. This should not be hot. I am uncomfortable. The other episodes range from good to okay to not good at all. The first real, I almost said glimmer of hope, but that would be a terrible pun. The first real spark was Madame Raz right here. The first character that sort of clicked. I will warn you, if you are going to watch this show, the first 3-ish episodes are rough, bordering on bad. It is a lore dump. Someone told me that Mattel insisted that they put all like the origin and stuff right off the top. It is a huge mistake. They spend way too much time setting up Swiftwind and setting up how the She-Ra thing works and Adora becoming She-Ra and all this stuff. People have seen so many origin stories already. They're sick of them. It took too much time to explain things that really weren't very important, and didn't spend enough time until later in the series explaining how kind of the world works with the mix of technology and magic and rune stones that don't have any runes. I'm still trying to figure that one out. They never do explain why Bo has no belly button. Someone, my friend Mouse suggested that, let me switch over to Bo here. Because Bo has 2 dads, he was not born, he was not gestated with an umbilical cord, so he doesn't have a belly button. I'm good with that fan theory. It makes sense to me. And Bo, like I said, is freaking adorable. So I don't want to overthink it. He's overdone in places. He's overwritten. The writing in the whole series is extremely uneven. I cannot stress enough how uneven the writing is, and unfortunately the episodes the showrunner Noelle Stevenson wrote are some of the weakest ones. Now, I am going to give her a pass on that because I think she's the one that had to write the lore dump episodes. But the best episodes are the ones not written by Noelle Stevenson. But let me go through the characters and give you sort of my thoughts on all of them. Like I said, Beau's adorable. Glimmer really strikes me as a showrunner self-insert character. I like her a lot, but she's very much an awesome friend in all ways, but there is drama and stuff. If you Google what Noelle Stevenson looks like, she looks a lot like this. Back in my day, we called these sorts of characters Mary Sue's because they're author self-inserts. Glimmer is not like super perfect by any, like not too perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So she's not that kind of Mary Sue, but she is very much feels fan fiction-y. She feels like an author self-insert, and I think that detracts from the character because there's a lot of stuff. You see Glimmer's mom, Angela, a lot. Maybe we'll get to her. You never actually see Glimmer's dad. There's some tragedy with Glimmer's dad. Glimmer obviously got her dad's genes because she looks nothing like her mom. But Glimmer's very cute. She's one of my more favorite characters, and that's saying a lot because there are some characters I thought were really, really great. Adora was not one of them. Unfortunately, the weakest part of She-Ra is She-Ra. Not only did I never, ever warm up to the costume, I don't understand the shorts. She's supposed to be this ancient protector thing in Lycra. Costume to me is character, and this costume does not tell you what She-Ra is about. It makes no sense. Warriors do not have bare legs. Unless you're Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman doesn't wear shorts. I don't know why they didn't either go with skirts or a full leg. The shorts are just weird and impractical, and She-Ra is not invulnerable. She gets scratched up a lot. Why would she have bare legs? I'm fine with her not being in heels. I'm fine with it not being a skirt. I'm fine with her looking like a kid. I'm not fine with it making no sense. And one of the big downsides of the series is the animation is legitimately awful. It's this weird Aeon Flux Light meets Naruto meets Teen Titans thing. There are too many visual ideas, and there are just obvious mistakes. There's one episode where there's a sequence where Beau, Glimmer, and She-Ra are walking towards Entrapta's fortress, and She-Ra's height changes 3 times. She's supposed to be 8 feet tall, but she does not look 8 feet tall half the time on this show. There are just mistakes. The animation is cheap, and it's very strange because it's DreamWorks. I know it's Netflix, but it's DreamWorks. Why does it look that cheap? But Seahawk, on the other hand, is awesome, but overused. A character as bombastic, braggadocious, and roguish as a character like Seahawk, should be used sparingly, and by the end, instead of, yes, Seahawk, I was like, oh, more Seahawk. But getting back to Adora, the biggest problem with She-Ra from this new and improved social justice perspective they took, I love the idea of My Little Ponying She-Ra and making different kinds of princesses, just as good kind of thing. Unfortunately, that is not what they've accomplished here. It is distinctly a white savior narrative where you need Blondie with the good hair. That's because of this animation sequence where her hair grows. She throws her hair back and her hair grows out in this luxurious blonde mane. I'm sorry, the minute you do that, giving her no boobs does not dispel the beauty myth. You're just taking the 1980s beauty myth and juxtaposing it for like a supermodel beauty myth where they're 8 feet tall and have no boobs. Like, this is not better. And it's a whole bunch of princesses of color that are really awesome in their own right. And they need to be saved by this, you know, I hate to say it, but Adora really comes off as a child of privilege. She does not earn her powers. She is given her powers. Now, there's this whole thing with her starting in the Horde and she's a Force Commander and she's pretty good at what she does, but she has it really, really easy. And that makes all the self-doubt that's explored in this show, it ends up being annoying instead of empowering. And by the end of the show, I was totally on Team Catra, which is exactly what happened to the Masters of the Universe reboot as well. I was on Team Skeletor by the end, and I was not like that as a kid. But Catra is a legit amazing freaking character. She's that rough around the edges kid who, you know, goes through 5 different foster homes, and she tries to act real tough, but she's got legitimate pain. And the character arc, the predominant character arc of the first season actually belongs to Catra. And one of the issues I have with this show is the way they decided who was going to be villains and who was going to be heroes or heroines. And unfortunately, if you're a furry or you're, you know, not traditionally feminine like Scorpia, who is another amazing character. She's so cute. She's like a female Minsk. Like, she's just kind of lovable and not so smart and awesome, but she's a princess and the other princesses don't like her so much. And the other character that ends up, I'm sorry if this is something as a spoiler, but she ends up as sort of a chaotic neutral type of character. Why don't they have Entrapta here? There she is. All right, is Entrapta. Entrapta is like this crazy, kooky hacker chick who seems, she only eats tiny food, and she's very much, I effing love science. She's a really interesting character, and her hair is animated, and that's really cool. Like, she has prehensile hair that she can use as like 2nd, 3rd, and 6th arms. She ends up as very much a chaotic neutral character. She's not a straight up good guy. And so the weird girls end up as villains, and then the much maligned online Spinnerella and Natasha, who's the darkest skinned princess in the whole show, they show up right at the end, and they're kind of the loser princesses. They show up and, you know, it's a big dramatic, oh, someone's here, someone's come to help us. Oh, it's Spinnerella and Natasha. So they make the bigger girl and the dark-skinned black girl the loser prince. They're still good guys by the skin of their teeth, but they're still losers. And after all that about Spinnerella, she's barely in it. Like, I mean, barely in it. She conjures wind like once, and that's it. She's basically just there for it to be a disappointing moment. And that, okay, it's inclusion, but it's not positive inclusion. It's reminding every bigger girl out there, and I was one. I was a chubby kid. I'm still not super skinny, but, you know, it's reminding every chubby girl out there, every fluffy girl out there, that no one really thinks you're cool. And I was like, are you kidding me? Seriously? That's terrible, especially with, the obesity problems going on in America right now. We should be giving kids like better self-esteem than that. But they're missing some princesses here. That's really weird. I'm jumping around, sorry. Frosta is another one who's used very sparingly, but she's really good. She's like got a lot of presence for an 11-year-old. She's funny. She's badass. I really like her. Swiftwind, they overdid again. I don't know why they decided to make Swiftwind a he. Maybe he always was. Maybe that's a canon thing that can't be changed. But Swiftwind sort of shows up, and there's an entire hokey episode devoted to the creation of Swiftwind, and then he's gone again for a really long time, and then he comes back as a social justice horsey, and it's weird. And I always liked Swiftwind as a kid, not as much as I liked Cringer, but Swiftwind was like one of the She-Ra characters. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess he's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, maybe kids like this sort of thing. Maybe that broad sense of humor is just something I can't relate to anymore. But I know I laughed at Bo despite myself. I knew it was way overdone, but I laughed. Bo's great. And I laughed at Seahawk, maybe because I binge watched it, but Swiftwind was just like, this was played wrong. This was really played wrong. One that was, this character is really popular among She-Ra fandom. I am way too into he fandom, or I was for a while. Fans love Shadow Weaver, and they really made her interesting and almost kind of tragic, but she's mean. Like, she really explains why Catra goes the way she does. Hordak, on the other hand, I have loved Hordak since back in the day. I was really disappointed with the use of Hordak. Hordak was the big bad back in the original She-Ra. The big bad here is Shadow Weaver, not Hordak. And Hordak has, I admit, I thought he was really cool, but this weird kind of demon baby sidekick. They don't have him in the picture, but I'm sure some people love Hordak. I found it weird. Like, the voice was very different, and if you've never seen She-Ra, this is not a problem for you. But he just very much seemed like, cookie cutter villain instead of an interesting kind of cool idea. Now, the other character that kind of confused me was Queen Angela. Like I said, she looks nothing like Glimmer, and she constantly looks like she just came from a jazzercise class. And what I don't get is, after all the time they took to change up all the other characters and make them look modern and all that stuff, why did they still keep her in her original jazzercise outfit? Like, nobody else is allowed to have anything approaching camel toe except the queen, that doesn't really do very much active. It was very strange. I guess they were trying to answer back to the old show, but since they changed everything else, that one thing they kept the same was weird. Now, two characters I was surprised how much I liked were Perfuma and Mermista. Mermista is basically Raven from Teen Titans. Thanks to my friend Mouse for that observation. It was on the tip of my tongue. I'm like, yes. So if you like Raven, you'll like her. There's this whole thing about Seahawk being like vaguely obsessed with her. Nobody buys it. Nobody buys that Seahawk is heterosexual. He wants to be the little Bo figure when they have to play with these miniatures to do a battle plan. Like, I don't know why they even bothered. There's no way Seahawk is straight, and I'm okay with that. Now, Mermista is a pretty cool character for being a Raven type character. She's interesting. Her redesign makes absolute sense. She's a swimmer, so she looks like a swimmer. She's got that kind of Polynesian look, which makes sense for somebody who spends a lot of time in the water. This is one of the better redesigns. I get why it is the way it is. Perfuma is sort of a flower child. Perfuma was always the at least among my circle, the one we joked about in the 80s, because why is perfume a power? They give her powers more like Poison Ivy in this one, with control over plants. And she, even though she's kind of a hippie chick, she's pretty badass when it counts. I was really surprised how much I liked Perfuma. So the conclusion I came to was that She-Ra and the Princesses of Power would have been a better show without She-Ra. Now, I get that you can't get anything made without an existing IP attached anymore, but I actually think it would have been a better show if they just made a show about a bunch of battle princesses who have to come together and work together like Care Bears in order to get things done. I would have been right behind that show. The She-Ra lore is so shoehorned in places, it's almost hysterical. Instead of working with the existing source material, and a big thing of those Filmation, the He-Man, the She-Ra, the stuff like that, they didn't explain very much. Things just were what they were. It didn't have to make sense. And they worked so hard to explain certain things. And then, so when they deliver these clunker lines like, princesses are dangerous, and I didn't know the Fright Zone was so terrible. It's called the Fright Zone, Adora. Come on. Like, you work for something called the Horde, and you didn't think they were evil? Now, I will say for gamers, you're going to see shadows of Assassin's Creed, a lot of Mass Effect, like stuff lifted completely from Mass Effect, including a moment I'm pretty sure is like a riff on the ending of Mass Effect 3 that kids aren't going to get. Kids haven't played Mass Effect. It's another thing. Who's this actually for? There are little in jokes, like little references early on for people who watch the original show. I saw some of them. I chuckled. But I don't recall, unless I missed it, like bubble wrapping a statue or feeding a cat. All this thing about Bo has two dads. I don't remember ever seeing Bo's dads. So why do we know about that? Why is this so important to it? It isn't. It's not important at all. There was too much emphasis on certain elements of the backstory and not enough on making the original concept make sense. And I would have been fine. I would have kind of given a little chuckle and all right, princesses are dangerous, whatever. If they didn't science everything up. If they didn't explain all the technical elements and how Etheria works and references to Eternia and this character that's called Light Hope or something like that. But I kept going, oh my God, why is Synergy here? And if they didn't get so deep into the lore in that way, I would have been okay with Princesses Are Dangerous. But when people hear princesses, they don't really think dangerous, right? Like, okay, these are battle princesses. These are princesses of power. But, like, they were forcing people to suspend their understanding of certain tropes in some ways and just really leaning on things hard in others. And like I said before, the writing is the absolute weakest element of it. Certain episodes are absolutely fantastic. Catra has some amazing zingers. There are character voice problems in other places. Perfuma is very defined. Frosta is very defined. Mermista, it's more the delivery. But some voice acting was great. Some voice acting was uneven, but the voice acting really defined characters in the way that the writing itself did not. If like I took away the voices and recited the lines again, and there were a lot of lines that any character could have said. It didn't start off that way, but something was funny in episode 3. They just had another character say something very similar in episode 6. And so it comes across as that Joss Whedon problem of no character has their own thing, with notable exceptions. And I really do think a lot of the voice acting saved what was really, really weak writing and real blind spots when it came to this idea of let's shove moral messaging down kids' throats. You know, you can't say, oh, the princesses are super nice to each other and then just ostracize anybody who's the least bit different because they're weird. And, you know, when it comes right down to it, we still have, and there would be nothing wrong with this if they didn't abandon a lot of the other source material, you still have the He-Man and She-Ra dichotomy of the only real difference between the heroes and the villains is the heroes are pretty and the villains are ugly. And then a few not so pretty characters can come and play too, just to show that the pretty girls are nice people. But by the end of it, you do kind of get the feeling that the princesses are kind of cliquey. Well, at least if you're me. And when I kind of looked at who I'd want to hang out with, I'd want to hang out with Scorpia and Trapta more than I'd want to hang out with the princesses. And that's saying a lot because like Glimmer and Bo have moments of these are the best friends ever. They have absolutely no reason to like Adora or trust her or give her the time of day. But they are just super nice people to a fault. And it would be great if a lot more kids were like that. But then Adora goes and treats Catra like garbage. Like, the Horde is evil. Chick, I'm trying to watch my language because it's a kid's show, but, like, you were Horde up until 20 freaking minutes ago. And now it's the Horde is evil. I can't do this. You are bad. She was your friend for years and you dropped her for the princesses of popularity? Team Catra. I get why Catra is mean. I get why Catra is a collection of self-defense mechanisms. I understand you, Catra. Just start being nicer to Scorpia, because Scorpia is really, really nice. And Trapta's nuts, but she's super smart. So, like, oh wow, like, let's encourage kids to not go into science, because then people won't really like you. And I wouldn't care about any of this if it was just butt stupid entertainment that wasn't all, look, we're going to be progressive and the old show had boobs and not enough diversity. Yeah, that's true. But it doesn't necessarily work if it feels forced, and it still perpetuates the beauty myth by having a hierarchy based on how light your skin is. And treating the fat girl like, ew, oh, it's just her. So if you want to avoid all of that, just watch the Seagate episode and that's episode 5, I believe. Yeah, watch the Seagate and watch Aubergine Suit Catra is all Princess Prom. If you just want to laugh and you just want zaniness and fun and skip all the rest, the Glimmer episode and the Mysticor episode and some of those are all right. Episode 11's really good. The beginning and the end are probably the weakest parts for me because I was like, huh? So that's my review. I can't say I didn't enjoy parts of it. And they're super short, so if there's a weak episode, you blow through it really, really quickly. I'm interested to see what they do season 2 and whether some of that too many cooks, creation by committee, too much interference feeling eases, because now it works and people aren't freaking out so much. I would like to see them address some of the problematic issues, not because I care particularly about, being woke. I just want better storytelling. And the one thing that has to come up more than anything is the writing. So that is my review. Without too many spoilers, I don't know what's a spoiler anymore. I apologize. I'll put a maybe spoilers tag on this. But thanks for watching and interested in what you think. Happy Monday.